I'm T Love, and this is the Love Song Podcast, a Love Song media production. Going to skip my normal intro. I do appreciate the support that I get from my sponsor, but today's episode is going to be a very controversial episode, so I decided to wear my American shirt, something that it's not sponsored. I don't want to put my sponsor in a bad position. I have been doing a lot of research since June of 2025. And I have debated whether or not to do this episode, but I have decided it's time. Today's episode will be episode 40. The Iran War Lies. Let me start off by saying I am a proud American. I grew up in the church. I understand Israel, the biblical implications of Israel, but I don't believe today's modern Israel is anything resembling the biblical Israel that we are taught as Christians to support and defend. Let's get into it. Episode 40, The Iran War Lies. Since Israel's June the 13th, 2025 attack on Iran, the two countries have been effectively at war, with Israel conducting airstrikes throughout Iran, including against sites and personnel related to Iran's military and its nuclear and ballistic missile programs, and Iran launching ballistic missile and drone attacks against Israel. The fighting has reportedly killed over 400 in Iran, including a number of senior military officials, and 24 in Israel. Israeli officials reportedly sought direct U.S. involvement in targeting certain Iranian nuclear facilities via capabilities Israel apparently does not have. According to Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane, the U.S. military Operation Midnight Hammer in Iran invoked over 125 U.S. aircraft, including 7 B-2 Spirit bombers, and the use of approximately 75 precision-guided weapons, including 14 GBU-57 mass ordnance penetrators, otherwise known as MOPs, over the course of 25 minutes. The MOPs were deployed against nuclear facilities at Natanz and Fordow. U.S. officials have described the latter site as particularly concerning due to its location deep underground. A U.S. submarine also launched over 24 Tomahawk cruise missiles at a nuclear facility at S1E40. On the evening of June 21, 2025, the United States carried out air and sea launch strikes on 3 nuclear facilities in Iran in an operation that U.S. officials have said was very narrowly tailored to destroy or severely degrade Iran's nuclear program. I want to pause and go back and read that statement one more time. On the evening of June the 21st, 2025, the United States carried out air and sea launch strikes on 3 nuclear facilities in Iran in an operation that U.S. officials have said was very narrowly tailored to destroy or severely degrade Iran's nuclear program. We're going to talk about that nuclear program in a minute. And compel Iran to reach a negotiated settlement with the United States. Initial U.S. assessments suggest the sites were severely damaged. The status of highly enriched uranium that had been located at one of the sites is uncertain. U.S. officials have said, "We don't want to achieve regime change." and that the operation was not and has not been about regime change, though President Donald Trump wrote on June the 22nd that he would expect such a development if Iran's leaders could not make Iran great again. The strikes come amid ongoing conflict between Iran and Israel, which had launched its own attack against Iran on June the 13th, as I said. Reactions in Congress to the U.S. strikes have varied, with some endorsements and critiques, and proposal to limit U.S. military involvement in hostilities or endorse related U.S. support to Israel. The United States and Israel launched coordinated airstrikes on Iran on February the 28th, 2026. A year later, roughly. The initial attack, known as Operation Epic Fury, began with over 900 strikes in a 12-hour window. It targeted Iranian military sites, missiles, and nuclear facilities. I thought we destroyed those nuclear facilities a year ago. Following this 40-day campaign, a ceasefire took effect on April the 8th. However, renewed fighting broke out in July. The U.S. conducted further strikes in the Strait of Hormuz on July the 7th and 8th after Iran attacked commercial shipping vessels. The entire nonpartisan narrative of the United States government for decades, to include Presidents Trump, Biden, Obama, Bush 43, and Clinton, as well as elected officials from both sides of the aisle, is that Iran can never obtain a nuclear weapon, and they were a radical genocidal regime. They were the state terrorist. Now let's look at some of the facts that dispute the U.S. government's claim, shall we? Iran does not currently have nuclear weapons. While intelligence agencies have assessed that Iran had a structured, systematic nuclear weapons program that it halted in 2003, it has continued to build a controversial nuclear energy and uranium enrichment program. Let me stop and say this. Iran was given authority by the United Nations to have a nuclear energy or uranium enrichment process. They're able to build that uranium up to a certain level. I'm not getting into the specifics of that, but they were within the UN guidelines. Keep that in mind. Although Iran possesses enough enriched uranium to theoretically produce multiple nuclear weapons if further processed, both the U.S. intelligence community and the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, has maintained that Tehran has not crossed the threshold to build and test an actual nuclear device. The exact status of Iran's enrichment infrastructure has remained clouded in uncertainty following major U.S. and Israeli strikes on underground Iranian nuclear facilities. Iran possesses the largest and most varied ballistic missile arsenal in the Middle East, according to the U.S. intelligence and defense analysts. Iran's inventory is estimated to include thousands of missiles capable of traveling distance ranging from 300 to over 2,000 kilometers. Iran relies on an asymmetric missile power as a core component of its defense and deterrence strategy, having developed an array of short, medium, and intermediate range ballistic missiles. Let's look at the short range ballistic missiles first, the SRBMs. Iran has a vast inventory of SRBMs, such as the liquid-fueled Scud-based Shahab-1 and Shahab-2, as well as a solid-fueled Fateh series, the Fateh 110. These missiles can travel roughly 300 to 1,000 kilometers and are designed to target U.S. bases and neighboring countries in the region. The medium and intermediate range ballistic missiles, which are also called MRBMs and IRBMs, Iran operates longer range systems like the Shahab-3, the Sigil, and the Khorramshahr. These weapons can reach distances up to 2,000 kilometers or more, which puts targets across the entire Middle East, parts of Eastern Europe, and Israel well within their reach. Advanced technology. The arsenal also reportedly includes maneuvering re-entry vehicles, multi-warhead systems designed to evade interception, and hypersonic glide vehicles. In doing all of my studying and research on this, I believe that they have the capability of reaching Diego Garcia, perhaps even the UK. But that is stripped down to where it is nothing but the rocket. There's nothing else on board. They do not have the technology and the capabilities of reaching far off targets, especially the United States here in our sovereign ground. I mentioned Diego Garcia. The most famous secret base in the Indian Ocean is the joint US-UK military facility on the atoll of Diego Garcia. Tucked deep within the British Indian Ocean Territory, this isolated outpost is virtually inaccessible to civilians. I mention this simply because Iran's missiles could reach this base, and there is some evidence that has come up that the MH370 may not have crashed in March 2014. That's the Malaysian Flight 370, but rather was taken to this secret base because of high-tech R&D people who were on board. I've released a little bit of this in a prior episode. I'm going to go back and redo this episode next week. Here is what strikes me. Again, let me be really clear. I'm a proud American. I think we, without a doubt, are the greatest country in the world. But we're being lied to. And we've been being lied to since the Lincoln assassination. More modernly, World War I, World War II. What happened in 1947, 48, and 49 that changed the geopolitical world forever. But did you know that the modern nation of Iran has 0 recorded instances of unprovoked full-scale military invasion on another country? I've gone to 15, 16 different search engines, places where I can verify things. They all say the same thing. Iran has never done a full-scale military invasion of another country without being unprovoked. The last unprovoked direct invasion by Persia, Iran occurred centuries ago during the reign of Nader Shah. I didn't even look that up. That's been so long ago. When they said Persia, Iran, that's way back. The historical and strategic context of Iran's military actions breaks down into a few closer principles. Let's look at them. Regional defense and proxies. Rather than launching unprovoked full-scale wars, Iran relies on a network of proxy groups and allies. These include groups in Lebanon, Yemen, Iraq, and Syria. So when I started diving into that with my research, I found it's worth noting for all my viewers that all of the radical terrorist group who are attacking everyone in the Middle East, and they're blaming Iran for it, it's already been proven on the United States Capitol Hill during testimony to Congress that the United States taxpayers, through lobbyists, NGOs, special interest groups, USAID, and off-the-book black ops, are financing these very terrorist groups, whether it be Hezbollah, whether it be Hamas, Jihad Hezbollah, ISIS, you name it. We are funding the very people we're blaming this country for using as terrorist groups. Our tax dollars is being siphoned through illegally, but they make it legal because all the lawyers that get elected, they just change the laws through your lobbyists, your NGOs, your special interest groups, your USAID, and of course all the black ops missions that they will never talk about, the Iran-Contra that came to light because, it only comes to light when it goes bad, and then they got to look for a scapegoat, an American scapegoat, to blame it on, Colonel Oliver North. The concept of provocation. Iran's military engagements outside its borders are almost always framed by Tehran as defensive, retaliatory, or tied to regional conflicts. Recent 2026 conflict, while Iran has conducted missile and drone strikes across the Middle East, hitting countries like Israel, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, and the UAE, United Arab Emirates. These actions took place during ongoing regional war. They were launched in response to U.S.-led operations, retaliatory strikes, and the assassination of Iranian leaders, to include the Ayatollah. Israel has conducted military strikes, invasions, or covert operations in at least 11 countries outside of its own borders since 1948. Well, that's 70 years, Tim. These engagements were primarily part of declared wars, targeted anti-terror operations, or preemptive strikes. The countries where Israel has engaged in military action or launched attacks include Egypt, Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Iran, Yemen, Qatar, Uganda, Tunisia, and Sudan. Additionally, Israel has engaged in continuous combat operations in the Palestinian territories of the Gaza Strip and the West Bank. I find it strange, that Syria, Iraq, Iran, Sudan, those are all countries that the United States has gone to war with or had some type of military operation against at the behest of Benjamin Netanyahu or other prime ministers from Israel. Israel developed its nuclear weapons indigenously in the 1950s and 60s, heavily assisted by France, which provided the essential technology to build the Negev Nuclear Research Center at Dimona. Primary foreign contributors to Israel's nuclear program include France, who provided the heavy water nuclear reactor and plutonium processing plant at Dimona, along with engineers and technical assistance. Norway, which supplied heavy water through a secret arrangement with the United Kingdom to aid in the plutonium production. The United States, while the U.S. initially opposed the program under JFK, which we all know is why he got unalived, the Nixon administration reached the secret 1969 agreement with Israel Prime Minister Golda Meir. The U.S. agreed to look the other way and halt pressure for Israel to join the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, the NPT, in exchange for Israel not testing or publicly declaring the weapons. The country maintains a strict policy of nuclear ambiguity. It neither officially confirms nor denies the possession of nuclear weapons. Because of this, independent estimates from organizations like the Federation of American Scientists and the SIPRI vary widely, ranging from 75 up to 400 total warheads. The very agencies charged with inspecting and validating the nuclear arsenal can't even agree on how many warheads they have. This lack of transparency, along with the continued attacks and killing Israel has done for almost 70 years, with the historical evidence that Iran has never attacked a single country without provocation, begs two questions. Which country is the real nuclear threat? And which country is the real genocidal maniac? I want to go back now and do a little bit of opinion. While the U.S. initially opposed the program, the Nixon administration reached a secret 1969 agreement with Israel Prime Minister Golda Meir. The U.S. agreed to look the other way and halt pressure for Israel to join the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, the NPT, in exchange for Israel not testing or publicly declaring the weapons. This is a country that we signed a secret agreement with in 1969. This is a country that we give $350 billion to since it was created in 1948 by our president, Harry Truman. They have an Iron Dome. I believe they have somewhere around 225 nuclear weapons. It's about half, a little more than half of what the top number. 3 times what the bottom number is. We're funding these people. They are the 15th wealthiest nation in the world. They don't have an income tax system. They've got good health care, free health care. The only thing they have to worry about over there is Benjamin Netanyahu, who his own president, Israel's president, will not pardon him for his war crimes. This is not biblical Israel. I am not being an anti-Semite. I am speaking facts, historical facts, to a nation that we are bombing the hell out of because they allegedly have a nuclear arsenal and ballistic weapons capabilities of reaching the United States, which is a lie. They can reach Diego Garcia. They could probably reach the UK. They could certainly hit our bases over in the Middle East. But historically, they've never attacked anyone that didn't attack them first. And then you add insult to injury. We're over here defending Israel like they're greater than thou in modern day. And they've attacked 11 different countries, to include Egypt, Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Iran, Yemen, Qatar, Uganda, Tunisia, Sudan. These are some of the very countries that our government has bombed at the behest of Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli government. I did an episode earlier where it talked about the British and the Oman delegates who were overseeing the peace negotiations between the United States and Iran. They came out and told Reuters that it appeared that Kushner and Witkoff were acting as Israeli agents. That they believed, British and Oman delegates believed, that war could be avoided and a peace deal could be reached. But Jared Kushner and Witkoff got on a plane, came back all the way back to the United States. Kushner walked into his father-in-law's office and said, "Nah, just light them up." And I've since done my investigation on Kushner. Israel and the Saudis, they're not allies. But Kushner has banned them together in a $2 billion deal. A cash corridor, Kushner being the corridor, to flow money through the new Israel project, the new Middle Eastern project that they want. Not only that, Kushner's got another $1.5 billion out of the UAE and out of Qatar. He's gotten $3.5 billion. Kushner he bought the largest insurance company, investment company in Israel. He has this great plan of building a smart city in Gaza, having the the Israelites in one section and Hamas in another and the Palestinians in another. Hezbollah is going to be in it. Are you freaking kidding me, dude? Listen to me. Take politics out of it. Go back and read your Bible. These people have been fighting since the beginning of time. You ain't going to stop it. What you're going to do is you're going to mislead millions of people, a lot of evangelicals at that you're doing what's best for Israel, for God's people. And this ain't got nothing to do with God's people. This has got to do with the Israelites of the flesh. Those are the people who are from Abraham. They're all descendants of Abraham. And you got the people of the faith and the people of the flesh. And these people of the flesh are controlling 90% of the world. The economy, the academia, the media, the entertainment. They're also the academia part. You're talking about Israel, who Robert Maxwell, confirmed Mossad agent, bought Pregum Press, which was connected to Macmillan, that did all the textbooks for the United States back in the 70s and 80s. We accuse other nations of being propagandists. We accuse Iran of being propagandists. And our own country are propagandists. Cover up for World War I, where they begged Britain, let us into war. We will deliver the global elites, the chosen people of God. We will deliver you, Israel. And then in World War II, they did just that. World War II ended in 1949. Israel was created in 1948. CIA in 47, Israel in 48, the Mossad in 49, and the world's never been the same since. And then you got JFK. And then you got the Epstein files. Then you got the WMDs in Iraq. Then you've got 9/11. And then, oh my God, in 2016, the unthinkable happened. Somebody that was not supposed to win the presidency, and Donald J. Trump, the global elites hadn't planned for that. And for his 4 years, his 4 years, when he was president, 45, he was at war, domestically and foreign, because he wasn't compromised. But then you got the very suspect 2020 election, and then all the crap that went down on J6 they tried to hang him for, which he had nothing to do with. That was planned months before in a tabletop exercise by the deep state. Tim, you're a conspiracy theorist. Prove me wrong. The very people that helped Donald Trump get elected, he's turned on them. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massey, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk. I did a live event last night on TikTok, and I got suspended for 3 days. The truth has become bad. They don't want the truth out there. All these big tech companies, they're all part of the scheme. The government, the media, and big tech, they all work together. The same people controlling the strings of the economy, the entertainment, the media, the academia, everything that goes into it. These big tech companies, they're part of that elite status. And let's not forget the Epstein files. Everybody blames Trump. It ain't Trump. Israel will not let those files get released, because Israel is at the heart of the Epstein files. The Epstein files is about espionage. It's about blackmail. It's a who's list globally, but specifically in the United States, our leaders. And if you don't know that, then you're ignorant to the facts. If you do know that and you're blaming one man and Donald Trump for it, then you're an idiot. I find it funny, I've already spoken on this, but rather than launching unprovoked full-scale wars, Iran relies on a network of proxy groups and allies. These include groups in Lebanon, Yemen, Iraq, and Syria. It's worth noting that all of the radical terrorist groups who are attacking everyone in the Middle East, it has already been proven to be financed in part by the United States taxpayers through lobbyists, NGOs, special interest groups, USAID, and the off-the-book black op operations. I would tell you to turn off Fox, turn off CNN, turn off MS Now. Stop listening to the Young Turks. I get all of my news from across the pond. It's boring. It doesn't have any of the salaciousness in it. There's not any of the bombshells, breaking news. You don't get any of that. World Republic News, Al Jazeera, BBC. BBC sometimes can be somewhat like the American news media, but all three of those are someone I trust far more than I trust any of the American media. It's amazing what you find if you just open your eyes. They've brainwashed you. They've got you divided as a country in believing that Iran was going to bomb the United States when they didn't even have a nuclear program. They did not have the ballistic missile capabilities of reaching us here on domestic soil. Well, Tim, I mean, my goodness, T-Love, they could bomb our bases overseas. We can solve that problem. Recall all of our troops. Tell all of these little pissant countries to quit fighting amongst themselves or suffer the wrath of their enemy. We're no longer going to protect you. That's a novel idea. Only one small problem with that. The very country that attacks everyone around them has got 226 nuclear weapons. And if we pull away our financial support and we pull away the weaponry that we give to them, you're looking at, biblically, the end of the world. Because there's not a doubt in my mind that genocidal maniac Netanyahu would light the Middle East up. Everybody's worried about Rocket Man in North Korea, Kim Jong-un. Everybody's worried about Xi in China. Everybody's worried about Russia, Vladimir Putin. You're looking at the wrong people. The wolf is in sheep's clothing, and you're being brainwashed to believe that they are the saviors, and they're not. I'm sorry. As an American and as a Christian, it pains me to say that. But the historical data, the proven historical data, there's only one logical explanation you can come to. If you have any sense of common sense, any level of intelligence, how can you derive at any other conclusion? I can't. I'm sorry. God bless America. God bless you. God bless this entire globe. I think we're closer to a world war than we've ever been, and it ain't got crap to do with Donald Trump. It's got to do with the United States government not being ethical, moral, principled, and valued as we expect our leaders to be. They're compromised, they're corrupt, and they're complicit in each other's compromise and corruption. They just want to keep you divided. And the more divided you are, the more they win. What is the solution? I'll cover that on another episode. We're all just one diagnosis, one accident, or one unexpected phone call away from living a much different life. I implore you, stay humble, be kind, show your love, and go check on your people. Because it is the people that matter, not the politicians. Until I see you on the next episode, take care.